So fun. So fun. So fun to sew. Hello everyone. Welcome to Zara's Calm. I'm Ann, your host, and let's talk about the subject of today is color choice. How do you choose a color for your fabric? On my way walking to the creek, I saw this flower right here, and that was my inspiration for this block. Now, I knew that I wanted to use two colors, purple and yellow. And so I went to my stash and I didn't have enough of the purple. And I thought, well, I have all these different values of purple. I could use that for the background. So what I did was I picked out a light, medium, and dark purple for the background. And then I did the same with the yellow fabric. So that's what value is. Value is the lightness and the darkness of a color. As you can see here, I have a dark, a medium, and a light purple, and some in between colors. And the same with the yellow. I just look for the different values of yellow. So this is a little quick tip to help you when you're choosing a color for your quilt. Now I wanted to represent the petals, and there are two ways to put this petal on the background foundation of the quilt. One is a turned edge applique, and that's when you turn the edges under so that you won't have any edges showing. And in this method, you take starch and a paintbrush and brush it around the edges, and then you're going to use your iron and iron it over, and you have turned edge right here. This is a turned edge applique. Now I thought this method would take quite a long time, so I said, well, let me at least try to sew this down. And I sewed it down, I appliqued it down with a blind hem stitch, and I liked it, but I figured it would take a long time. It's nothing wrong with doing this, but I was looking at time. I wanted to do something that was more simple. So I went to my sewing machine and I tried this raw edge applique. I took some Elmer's glue and did a couple of little dots, and I glued my petals to the foundation, the purple squares, and then I went on and zigzagged the petals down with a gray thread. And the gray thread seemed to blend all the colors together. So grays and purples are somewhat complementary colors. They go together, even the yellow. So now I'm holding my camera. I'll tell you how fun and easy this sewing these petals on was. Very easy that I could hold my camera and sew that on. And then I decided to stay with the purple theme, and I chose a purple center for the flower. And this is how the blocks are looking. Wonderful. They look so beautiful. And I went into my sewing room, and it turned into a hurricane in there. I'm telling you, I was sewing and quilting and just getting the blocks done. And I was happy with the color choices and the values that I have of the fabric, and everything was working out, and I'm liking how it's looking. And then I thought to myself, when they're laid out together, I think that I wanted to have sashing strips in between. And so here's another choice. I had to choose what color I wanted for that. And again, I know that gray is one of the complementary colors, and I knew that it would go with the purple. So I laid out my rows. I marked them with numbers to help me to spread out the colors in the quilt evenly around the quilt. I'm loving the petals with different fabric colors on there. Isn't that nice there? Some of the petals with the lighter color, I used a sheet to cut out the petal. And then I'm looking at the gray sashing. It's looking good. I'm happy with that. And I went about sewing it on. On the right hand side, I'm using this thank you card. This is what helped me to keep an accurate seam allowance. It's a little trick that I use. So once I got my sashing around in between each block, I put a quarter stone in there, and I'm just loving it. I love how the gray and the purples and the yellows all work together. Again, we have different values of purple and different values of yellow in the petals. Worked out very well. And then I said, I'm going to do a quilt as you go. So I quilted each row. I started with my walking foot and then I ended with my free motion foot. And I did it on my brother PQ 1500 SL. It's a straight stitch machine. It is a very good workhorse and it can be heavy duty if you use a leather needle if you have to sew something that's very thick. And again, this is the quilt as you go. There's so many ways to do the quilt as you go. And in this particular method that I use, I did not have to use any coping strips, or I just folded the seam under. And then the quilt is getting better. I was able to look back and see how the colors were working together. They're looking good. The grays and the purple again and the yellows were looking really good. This is how the back of the quilt is looking. It's also a scrappy back quilt. And then I went about putting on the borders. This is a June Taylor ruler, and that's what I cut around. I use this little wavy cut out around the curve, and then I went with making my purple binding, and then I put that on with some invisible thread. And I glued my binding down. I don't know if you've ever used, so you sew the binding to the quilt, and then you're going to fold it over, and then I ironed it down using a little bit of the regular Elmer's glue. And I got the binding on, and it's done, everyone. I think I would have next time used a gray border around instead of the orange and the yellow stripes here. I think that would have calmed it down because there's a lot of orange and yellow in there. But either way, I'm finished with the quilt. I learned a lesson about value of a color, the lightness and the darkness of a color. And I learned that if I don't have the same fabric, I can go in my stash and look for the value of that same color or whatever it is of fabric, and it should work out fine. The quilt turned, it was a very quick quilt to make, very simple to make. And again, it's a quilt as you go. And I hope this video has inspired you, just like this flower did for me. And if you're struggling with choosing the next color for your quilt, maybe this video will inspire you. So thanks for watching, everyone. And thanks for, I got a couple of more subscribers. I appreciate you all. And please like and share. And leave me a comment. Let me know if you've ever dealt with trying to figure out what color you want. So this is Anne with Zara's Calm, and I'm going to say bye.